Robert Cheesebo was a man who had a problem none of us would want. His job became obsolete. He was a chemist, and his main job was to take whale oil and distill it down into kerosene. But when the fields of Pennsylvania started producing black crude, whale oil became obsolete, and so did his job. Have you ever been in a similar situation where you realize what you were is not what you can be in the future? When things have changed and it seems like you're outdated and you don't know what you're going to do next? What happens when the new thing has to be you?
You're watching Timeless Talks, timeless subjects, information for life.
Thank you so much for joining us on Timeless Talks. We hope you'll continue to subscribe to this channel. Make sure you select all the videos so you'll get every one that comes out, and share those with your friends and family if people might be interested in it. You know, we're moving into a new year. And oftentimes when we think about a new year, we think about some changes we might want to make in our life. Maybe want to exercise more or lose weight or get rid of some bad habits. But usually when we think about change, we think about small things, right? We don't want to change too much. We don't want to change completely. But sometimes in life, that's exactly what we need, especially when it comes to spiritual things. You know, earlier I talked about Robert Cheesebo and his change of career. He couldn't be a whale oil chemist anymore, but he decided to go to those oil fields in Titus, Pennsylvania to see maybe if he could become something else. And when he got there, he discovered something rather unusual. Workers there had a substance that came out when they were processing it. They called rod wax. And they found this rod wax was actually good on burns and cuts. And so he sampled some of this stuff, and he realized he could do the same thing he had been doing before, distilling this product down from the black substance that was there into a nice, smooth, clear gel. He then started to bottle that substance, gave it a name, and started selling it. We know that substance as Vaseline, and it's now become $1 million industry. You see, what he saw as a career-ending change actually became something much better. And the same thing can happen for us. You know, in Ephesians chapter 4 and verses 22 through 24, it talks there about putting aside the old self, an old self that's become corrupt. It's become corrupt by the deceitfulness of sin. But there it tells us that we must put on a new self that becomes from the renewing of our mind. In other words, we have to change our mindset in order to become something new. You know, whenever you look through the scriptures, you see over and over this idea of putting aside the old self, put to death the old self, letting the old man of sin die. When it talks about our old life, it talks about phrases like the futility of the mind or the futility of the way we were with our forefathers. In other words, our old life was a life that wasn't taking us anywhere. But that new life, a new life in Christ, can change us completely. If anyone is in Christ, he's a new creation. And that's exactly what we want to think about in this coming year. What can we do to become a new person? Maybe in the new year, you need a new you. Let me ask you a question. What is this? Well, you may be looking at it and say, well, I found that in my kids' room. It's Play-Doh, right? You know, kids play with that, and it's a wonderful invention. What if I said, what's this? Well, you'd probably say that's a Kleenex, right? You need that if you're sneezing or you're sick, right? You'd be right to say both those things, but you know, you would also be wrong, because actually that's a facial tissue and that's modeling clay. We call it a Kleenex and we call it Play-Doh as the brand names, right? That name has become synonymous with it. But what's interesting about both of these products, much like Vaseline is petroleum jelly, they didn't start off that way. Kleenex actually was filters for gas mask in World War I. Play-Doh was actually clay that was used to clean rooms when you had the kerosene lamps and they would get dirty. You would clean your wallpaper with it. But as times changed, both of those products seemingly became obsolete until they found a new purpose. But isn't it interesting, in finding that new purpose, now they became the name-defining thing that's used? We think about a tissue, we think about a Kleenex because it's become that name. You know, the same thing can happen for you. What you were isn't what you have to be in the future, if you're willing to make that change. And when you make that change, you can completely forget about what you were and become something new. When we put ourselves in Christ, we become a new creature. And we define ourselves by being like Christ. our name becomes synonymous with Him. Maybe in this new year, you need to make some changes in your life. Maybe there's some things in your life you need to get rid of. And I'm not just talking about some old stuff in the closet, some old sins, some bad attitudes, some grudges, things that need to be let go. And in letting those things go, make sure you replace it with something new. Because God has an opportunity for you to become something new. You don't have to be what you were. You can become something greater. Thank you so much for sharing this lesson with us today. If you want to learn some more about us, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us at the phone number before. That's a call or a text. You can go to the website and contact us through there. Maybe you have a prayer request. Maybe you're interested in learning more about Jesus Christ and would like to have a Bible study. We would love to do that with you. And we want to thank you for joining with us, and make sure that you share this to your friends and family so they maybe can start something new.